Okay, you've got to this point and you've done a lot of discovery and concept exploration for your project, but what's next? It's time to show a few concepts to the client. What we typically show the client at this point are quicker ideas to ensure that you're moving in the right direction. We can call these more low-res or low-fidelity designs, kind of like sketches. Once a client approves the direction, you can move to refining the concept and creating 2 or 3 high-res designs. These are fleshed out, close to the final look. You may even show these designs in a product mock-up. For instance, if you were designing a logo and the company sells coffee, you might put the logo on packaging or signage. One question I hear a lot is, should you give your clients a bunch of design choices? I used to think the more the better. But it's like anything. Too many choices can lead to nitpicking just parts of each they like or don't like and not really looking at what it's supposed to do. It can also lead to analysis paralysis, too many options to look at. Hopefully you've brought the client on the entire design journey so that by this point, your design won't come as a shock because you've spelled out a clear direction already. Now at this point, the accepted norm for design options is about 3. 2 on target, safer options, and 1 maybe a little more out there, a little more adventurous. Here's another school of thought. Present 1 main concept and keep a second or maybe a third at the ready just in case the client doesn't go for the initial one. Now remember, at this point, assuming the client has been awake and actually paying attention, what you present shouldn't be a total surprise. Okay, so the client makes their pick from those, but you're probably not done yet. Now come revisions. Prepare to make a ton of versions of the assets named things like Final. I'm kidding mostly. Actually, naming conventions are something that you need to get better at and will get better at with more practice. For example, naming the project files with version numbers and/or dates can really help you find out what's what later on. And organizing, naming your project assets in folders so that you or anyone else can easily find things later. There really is nothing more frustrating than coming back to files and finding out that you can't find anything you need. I just had that happen with an After Effects project. I've had it where the final was missing because I had it on my desktop when the project wrapped up. Okay, so after a number of rounds of revisions, you make the changes and you come to the actual final. At this point, you save the files you're handing off in all the agreed upon sizes, colors, and formats. Depending on the project, yourself, and your client, you might actually make a style guide. This is kind of like a handoff doc that lists the fonts used, the colors, etc. This can be useful for a client if they're trying to make something new or change something later on. They could see how things should be applied. You can then gather everything and upload it to a cloud service for transfer to the client. Now, depending on the billing arrangement you agree on with your client, you may be billing the whole project now or the last half of it. After you bill, you then wait. It can be tough to bill in one lump sum for a project, especially when it comes to paying your bills over the months that it might take the project to come to completion. You'll figure this part out quickly after you have your first few clients.